Hello, and welcome back to Dormat's Legendary channel where we drop the latest in Legendary content. So, I hope you've been going on this journey with me. We have been going through the newest expansion to Marvel Legendary, the Weapon X expansion, focusing around the Weapon X era of comics from the Marvel Comics. And we have been, I have played through 3 games of this expansion, trying out each of the masterminds, each of the schemes, and trying to get a good handle on the heroes and villains to give you a good feel of what this set is all about. And so here is my review video sharing with you my thoughts. I'm going to go through each of the masterminds, each of the villain groups, each of the schemes, each of the heroes, maybe not in that order. And then at the end, I'll give you my overall impression of the entire set. Okay, so starting off, we are going to start talking about Omega Red. Omega Red is the most costly of these masterminds, and it's the one that I've most recently fought. I liked fighting Omega Red. It was really neat kind of balancing your wounds to try to fight him, because he could be at a 14 or a 10. Now, each of these masterminds do have an epic side. I have not played the epic side. I can just imagine they are more difficult, as is epics. But I really did like Omega Red. His tactics, they typically gave you a wound. But one thing that I like about Omega Red's tactics is that he has one of the "if this is not the final tactic." Okay, that may be a hot topic. But I do personally like masterminds that have the "if this is not the last tactic" tactic cards, because it kind of makes it a game whenever you pull for the tactics. And I got lucky with Omega Red. So I think Omega Red is pretty cool. It's neat how he uses the wounds to his favor. Now, let's move on to Romulus. Romulus, his whole thing, so Omega Red was kind of wounds. Romulus is Weapon X sequence. I personally love the Weapon X sequence. That could be just because I'm a puzzle type of guy. I love puzzles and thinking through things. And with Weapon X sequence on Romulus, had to manage the HQ to make sure that he wasn't super powerful. With 5 cards, he could be at a max of 14 on this side. And his Master Strike was pretty neat too, because we're fighting to see who has a better Weapon X sequence. And then something would happen. And then one thing that's unique about Romulus is he has something that happens when his final Master Strike comes out. So I thought that was pretty neat too. Like with Romulus's tactics, he also has the "if this is not the last tactic," but he has 2 of them that are "if this is not the last tactic," which means that one of those is going back. Or something's happening. Also, I like how one of his tactics, take over the Weapon X program. You get recruit equal to the amount of attack that Romulus got. One of his, "if this is not the final tactic," a hero from the HQ that costs 6 or more ascends to become a mastermind. This is not the last tactic to reveal the top 2 cards of the villain deck. Play a Master Strike or Scheme Twist among them, putting the rest back in any order. So his "if this is not the last tactic" is not as bad, because there are some that "this is not the last tactic," you shuffle it back in. Thinking about you, Mysterio from Paint the Town Red. Then we have Sabretooth. Sabretooth is very unique because he uses the Berserk mechanic. So with this expansion, it feels that there are 3 main things which each of the masterminds takes. There's the wounds, Weapon X sequence, and Berserk. And I may be wrong on this, but I think this is the first set where Berserk is actually on enemies. Previously, Berserk was just on the heroes. So I think Berserking on the villains makes it more iffy and makes you think twice about hitting the villains, which can be a nice little challenge. But Sabretooth, he can ramp up and get more berserking the longer you fight him. Because each of his Master Strike adds a savagery, which is another berserk. He gets berserk for each savagery. But then even his tactics, they have different ways to add savageries. Let's see here. Stack a card from the wound deck next to Sabretooth as a savagery. But that's the only one of his tactics that adds a savagery. Now, so like they're actually kind of beneficial. Reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, draw, discard, put the other one back. Each other player reveals an instinct hero or gains a wound. KO a gray hero discarded. So his tactics aren't really bad. There are some masterminds where you just hate fighting them because all their tactics are bad. So the masterminds, I think we have 3 solid masterminds. They have a decent attack threshold, and their abilities help make them tricky enough without feeling too difficult. Now I want to look at the schemes. There were 3 schemes. I do like how it has individual art on each of them. Whereas previous schemes, it was just the same art on every single one. So we have 3 schemes. Condition Logan into Weapon X. This is the one I played most recently. This is what is called a timer scheme, which means no matter what happens after you pull X number of twists, the game is over. So after pulling 8 twists, the game is over, and it's just kind of a neat little thing here. The odd twists feel like it's a trap, like the trap cards. You have to defeat a villain with 2 VP or less. 2 VP or more by the end of your turn, or suffer this. And then we have some wound gaining mechanics, which depending on who you are, who you're playing with, you may or may not want to gain that wound. So Condition Logan into Weapon X was a fun scheme. It was a timer scheme, but that wasn't too bad. Go After Heroes' Loved Ones is the next one. This one was unique because 1, we're adding an extra hero. 2, with the heroes, with this one, you actually kind of nerf the hero deck a little bit because you're taking the lowest card. But it's not a huge nerf, but it is a little bit of one because instead of having 14 per hero, you now have 13 per hero, so that's a little bit smaller of a villain deck. Not by much, not enough to really notice, but it is something to take account of. Plus 2 bystanders under it as loved ones. And basically how this works is on a twist, you KO the rightmost hero space, and if that was a hero, then you KO one of the bystanders underneath the heroes. As a lost loved one. And if you KO both of the loved ones underneath the hero, then all the hero cards go away. So it's somewhat reminiscent of Dark Phoenix's Master Strike. But it was a fun scheme. And I think I won this one. And the later twists, you do the effect twice. So that one was fun. Now, Wipe Heroes Memories. This was an interesting one, and it really came down to the wire on this one. Basically, how this works is when there's a twist, you forget your past. And then you go to your victory pile. If you have any face-up villains, one of them goes face down on the bottom of your deck. If you don't have any, then this twist is a memory wipe. and and then when you lose, when there are 4 total memory wipes. So, and if it's not a memory wipe, you shuffle it back into the deck. So those are the schemes. Pretty solid schemes. A lot of fun, a lot of thinking with them. So I actually enjoyed them. Once again, me and my puzzle type of brain, I guess. Now let's go to the villain groups. We're going to start with the Weapon Plus. Okay, I'm just going to go through and show who all of them are. We got Dawkin, we got Skinless Man, we got Nuke, we got Typhoid Mary, Ultimaton, then we've got another Nuke, another Typhoid Mary, and then Huntsman. Right. Now, Weapon Plus, this is the villain group that deals with Weapon X sequence. So, with these guys, they all get additional attack from a sequence of cost in the HQ. So they're at least going to be buffed by 1 every single turn. Now they're pretty low costing, but that's because you would expect it to be so because of the Weapon X sequence getting extra attack. Now I like Nuke and Typhoid Mary from this villain group, because when you fight them, you reveal the top card of the hero deck and you gain whatever ability is listed on the card. So they're pretty fun that way. Skinless Man, he captures a bystander from someone's victory pile, or if you don't have any, then you gain a wound and he captures from the stack. Dawkin is pretty bad because he has Weapon X sequence and Berserk, which we'll get to the Berserk villain group in just a second. And Huntsman is pretty interesting because he reveals the top 3 cards of the hero deck, captures any that cost 4 or less, and then any that are more than 4 go on the bottom of the hero deck. And then when we fight him, if he has any captured heroes, then we fight him for that, gain 1 of those, puts him back in the exact same space. So you most likely will have to hit him a couple of times. And then Ultimaton, he has double Weapon X sequence, so he's pretty difficult to fight. Most of the time, he's upwards of 8 to 10 most of the time. Ambush, each player discards a non-gray hero, and fight, each player KOs 1 of their gray heroes. So, always love seeing a villain that has KO on them. Now, my thoughts about the Weapon Plus, I love the Weapon X sequence, and I love the fact of it being able to be on villains and having to manage your HQ and try to recruit and hope something doesn't come up, and I like that aspect of it. So I think the Weapon Plus is a pretty fun villain group. It's not a super difficult villain group in my opinion, because you can get around it. But when they are difficult, because you have 5 cards that are sequential, like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that can make it very difficult. Now, the Berserkers. The Berserker villain group is very neat. I like the Berserkers as well. So we have 1 Cyber, we have 2 Thorns, we have 2 Wild Childs, and we have 3 Ferals. Now, Feral is a gainable villain, so you fight them and you gain it as a hero. Wild Child has 3 Berserks, and then if you fight it, you KO 1 of the cards that cost 0. If you fail when you Berserk, which I'll talk about in just a second, you KO 1 of those cards that you Berserked that cost 1 or more. Thorn, when she comes in, if you have Feral in your deck at all, or in your discard pile, then Feral also enters the city. And she's nice because when you Berserk with her, you get to draw the card. And then Cyber, 2 Berserks, and he does some additional things. Okay, so that's a little overview of the villain group there. But with this group, it is that villainous Berserk. How that works is, when you go to fight a villain with Berserk, you reveal X number of cards, which X is the number of times Berserk is on the card. So like with Cyber, he has Berserk, Berserk. So you discard the top 2 cards of your deck, and he gets attack in addition to his permanent attack for whatever. Sorry, I worded that really weird. So whatever printed attack was revealed from the cards you discarded, he gets that in additional attack. And if you can't fight him with his new attack, then you fail. You do whatever the fail effect is on the card, and then you cannot fight anymore that turn. Okay, so it's recommended to generate all the attack you can and then fight someone with Berserk. Okay, so that's Berserking on villains in a nutshell. And I like Berserking on the villains because it was like, okay, do I have enough attack? And it was kind of having to think through and kind of count my deck in my head and see, okay, do I have enough cards? Do I have enough attack? Will I get more attack than what I have? It was a nice little thinking thing, and it was a nice little challenge. I really did appreciate it. And most of these had fun little fight effects, like Cyber. He's looking for certain classes of cards, and if there's a certain class that is revealed from the hero deck whenever you fight it, if any of the cards you berserked were a certain class, then he can get shuffled back into the villain deck, which is pretty neat. So, brief recap. Pretty great masterminds have their own challenges. Villain groups, I really enjoyed both of the villain groups. I thought they were both really fun, had nice challenges, and the schemes had some nice themes to them. Now the heroes. Okay? Now some of these heroes I felt like I played with more during my games than others. Others I just feel like I haven't been able to play with it enough. Like they didn't come up enough in my games. And the one that I'm thinking about in particular that I just don't have a strong feeling about is Marrow. I feel like she didn't come up enough for me to really experience what her hero set was. But on paper, it seems like she should be pretty good. Okay? So, let's see. Alright, so here are her cards. Okay? First common card. Basically, when you berserk, you get either print whatever the printed recruit or attack is. So that is really nice because berserk normally gives you extra attack. But if you play this card before you berserk, then you get the recruit as well. So that seems like it could work well. 2 attack, berserking. If you have that team trigger. And then Osteogenesis, draw 2 cards, put a card from your hand on top of your deck. She helps to set up berserking. And then she has Weapon X sequence on her rare. This also sets up for nice berserking because you reveal the top 6 cards, discard all the ones that cost 0, and put the rest back in any order. So that means you have no 0 costs in the top 6 cards when you go to berserk after playing this. So that could work very well. So on the surface, it seems like she works well. She seems to set up berserk more often than not, but I just didn't really get to play. I didn't feel like I played with her enough to get a good feel for it. All right. Let's go to Weapon H. Okay, Weapon H. Weapon H is a lot of fun. Okay, I really did enjoy Weapon H. Okay, Weapon H is basically Hulk and Wolverine combined. I mean, how can you go wrong with that? Okay. This card. Future of Warfare, 2 attack, look at the top card of your deck, discard or put it back, then strength trigger, berserk. So this can set up a berserk, because you can look at the top card and decide if you want it there or not. Pretty strong. And then this has printed attack, which is good for berserk, but you can choose to have that attack as recruit, which makes it a very versatile card and very nice to have in your deck. And it has this instinct trigger of +1 attack. Then we got Slice and Smash 2 attack, Berserk, and then you may KO the card you berserked. So that's kind of nice having a KO, but it's not so nice that it's locked behind a strength trigger. But, this is a mostly strength hero deck. Mostly strength hero. And then his rare, Weapon X sequence. I'm starting to notice a pattern. Strength trigger, using the wound deck, berserk 6 times, putting those discarded wounds on the bottom of the wound deck. Now this is neat, because if you didn't know, Weapon X has came with this new type of wound called an enraging wound. And this enraging wound actually has printed attack on it. So that could work in your favor if you pull the enraging wounds. So in Legendary we now have standard wounds, grievous wounds from Civil War, and now enraging wounds. So a third wound type. So I think this rare is pretty neat. Let's go to Weapon X Wolverine. Alright, so 3, 4, 5. Alrighty. So, these are the cards in his hero set. So he's mostly instinct, with 3 cards being tech. Okay? Put the rare there. Alright. So you may gain a wound. If you do, berserk. So you would discard the top 2 cards and get the printed attack values from those cards. And you can gain a wound, which might be, which helps later on with one of his other cards. So pretty strong card for 3 costs. You get 2 attack, potentially more. Raging Regeneration Berserk, instinct. You may KO a wound from your hand or discard pile. If you do, berserk again. So that is really cool. You could get 2 berserks if you have a wound. Infused Skeleton with Adamantium. To play this, you must put another card from your hand on top of your deck, also setting up for a berserk. And he has Weapon X sequence, which this hero set is a 3, 4, 5, 6 is the costs. So not very high costs when you consider other hero sets, but it's still pretty neat. Then we got our third rare, and also has Weapon X sequence. I'm definitely seeing the pattern now. 3 attack, instinct. You may reveal cards from the wound deck until you reveal an enraging wound. Gain that enraging wound to your hand. Put the other revealed cards back on the bottom deck. If you gain a wound this way, berserk. So that's kind of neat. So Weapon X Wolverine, he does a lot of berserking and deals a little bit with wounds. And then Phantom X. I think Phantom X is my favorite of these heroes, but that's probably just because of the Weapon X sequence. I really do like the Weapon X sequence keyword. So Phantom X, we have 1, 2, 3, and a 4 cost. A 4 cost rare is not bad. So Weapon X sequence, 0 attack and 1 recruit cost. So I have gotten this card to produce 5 attack or more for a 1 cost card. That is insane. So if you can build for a Weapon X sequence, this card can work really well. No clash triggers or anything. I think it's just a solid card. Because even with nothing else, you're going to be getting 1 attack, which is still really great. 3 brains. Most often than not, I did not trigger the card draw, but it's nice that you can get a card draw if you have a Weapon X sequence of 3. So really, really nice there. Weapon X sequence, misdirection. When you draw a new hand this turn, draw an extra card, then put a card from your hand on top of your deck. So you can set up Weapon X sequence If you have Berserk in your deck, you can set that up with this as well. Um, and then the rare, to be fair, I don't think I ever got the rare of Phantom X. I could be wrong. Um, Weapon X sequence tech. You may KO one of your cards that has the same cost as any of your other cards. So that's really neat. A rare that has KO. So that is Phantom X's set. So now that we've gone through all of the specifics, what are my thoughts overall of this set? Is it a set that you should buy? Is it a set you should wait on because it's not that great and maybe get it as one of the last ones to complete your set if you're trying to complete everything? Obviously, get it if you are a completionist and are trying to complete every single expansion. For me, I waited almost 6 months to get this expansion. Part of it was due with personal things, but also I am not the biggest fan of Wolverine. I mean, he's a great hero, don't get me wrong, but I'm much more of a Spider-Man kind of guy. So if there's a Spider-Man expansion, I'm getting it day one. But with Wolverine and Weapon X, I just didn't know a lot about it. I don't know a lot about the comics of Wolverine, especially the Weapon X era of Wolverine. So I wasn't super excited for it because of the theming of it. Okay? But I eventually decided to get it because I am a completionist with this game. I now have every single expansion for Marvel Legendary that has been released. So I got it mainly to complete my set. Also, Bageltop's Discord servers tournament was coming up, and I wanted to make sure I had it for that as well. Okay. But this is a really good expansion. Not even taking into consideration the size of your collection of Legendary. Okay, I think this is a pretty solid set. I mean, I think expansion is always great when it adds extra cards to your support decks. Officers, sidekicks, bystanders, wounds. And this adds the enraging wounds, which actually add a lot of dimension to the wound deck and actually kind of sometimes made me want to pull wounds to try to get those enraging wounds. So I think this set, even if the rest of the set was horrible, you should still get it for the enraging wounds. Okay? Now, with that, I think the rest of the set is really a lot of fun. I think the keywords of Weapon X Sequence and Berserk and the way that they kind of adapted Berserk to this set is really neat. I think we do have some strong heroes, especially if you're trying for a Berserk type of deck. These are some heroes that you would really want to have. I think it's really cool that we added another hero that has some one cost. There's not very many heroes in Legendary that have a one cost as one of their cards. I know Colossus and Wolverine, I think, has one. No, it's Colossus that I'm thinking of has a one cost. Okay. And there's probably some others that I'm just not thinking of right now. But I think it's really neat for Weapon X Sequence having that one cost added to it. Let's see. Let me actually search up and see how many heroes. Alright, so there are currently 11 heroes in Marvel Legendary that has a one cost card. So that's kind of neat. Yeah. Alright, so there's 11 heroes. So you can really build up a nice Weapon X Sequence deck if you wanted to with the heroes that are currently in Legendary. 11 is a lot more than I thought there were. So Weapon X Sequence I think is really great for this set. I think Weapon H, this set is really strong, really powerful. And I generally do like this set. Masterminds are great. Villain groups complement the masterminds, I feel, very well. Schemes, great theme. I love the challenge of the theme of the schemes. Some of the schemes, they sneak up on you on how dangerous they can be. The heroes are just great. They may not, on the surface, they don't feel as powerful as other heroes that we may have gotten in the past, but I think they're still pretty decent heroes all in all. So that's my general thoughts. So should you get it? I think so. I think this is a great set. I mean, even if you have just the core box, this is great because even if you just have the basic core set, you're adding additional wounds. You're adding some really fun keywords to your core set, and you're adding some really fun villain groups and challenges to yourself. Plus, epic masterminds, which you don't have in the core set. And even if you have more than core set and a couple of expansions with some epic masterminds already, I think it's a great set to pick up. If nothing else, to try out Weapon X sequence. Now, with that being said, I'm talking about epic masterminds. I have not fought an epic mastermind from this set. Okay, we have 3 masterminds: Omega Red, Romulus, and Sabretooth. I do want to take on an epic mastermind, but I'm only going to take on one of them, and I'm going to do it in solo. So I'm going to take on one mastermind and have 3 of the 4 heroes. I may be able to use all 4 if I use that one scheme that says add an extra hero. Yeah. Yeah. So I might go after heroes' loved ones, so I can use just these 4. And then but I'm not sure on that yet. But basically, I'm rambling now. Epic Mastermind, I want to fight one of them. But I don't know which one to choose. So if you would like to see me fight one of these masterminds on their epic side, in the comments, put down who you would like me to see, who you would like to see me fight. Omega Red, Romulus, or Sabretooth on their epic side. Whatever one I get the most comments of, then that is who I will fight after our legendary tournament. So right now, the legendary tournament is in full swing, and so I'll be focusing on that for the next several weeks. So I won't get to the epic mastermind from Weapon X until probably the middle of June of 2025, maybe late June, early July. But if y'all want to see it, I will play it. But that is my thoughts on the Weapon expansion. I think you should get it. I am kind of disappointed that I didn't get it sooner. I would have loved to have gotten this several months ago and have been able to play with this even more than I have already been able to. So, Weapon X, solid expansion. Still not sure if it beats 2099. I don't think it does. 2099 is currently my favorite expansion. We have a Sinister Six Mastermind group. Great keywords there with Cybermon and Faded Future. Great heroes. You get Spider-Man 2099. We get a playable Doctor Doom finally. 2099 is just a great expansion in my opinion. It's my favorite. But I am Spider biased. I love Spider-Man and anything Spider-Man adjacent. So of course I'm going to love Spider-Man 2099, Sinister Six 2099. So it's got to be my favorite expansion. But this is getting pretty close to it. It would probably be in my top 10 favorite expansions. It was actually a pretty good expansion. So, if you don't have it yet, go out and get it for yourself. Go out and get it for yourself. Enjoy it. And if you do end up getting it, let me know what you think. And Feel free to drop in the comments not only what epic mastermind you want me to fight, but also any comments or thoughts you had about my thoughts about this expansion. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have enjoyed this legendary expansion series. If you did like it, let me know, and I might do another one in the future. Thank you all for watching, and hope you have a legendary day.